Hello, Hi Radical here. Just coming on to address an issue that's come up in several correspondences I've had. One with Uzi. I'll refer to him by that name just because that's what Wayman does, and I'm sure I'd botch his name otherwise. There was another person I was in some commentary with. I don't recall his name, but the video he posted was Tough Questions for Mormons, and I'll probably post links to both of them. But one of the common things I was seeing in my dialogue with both of them, and I believe there was even others where it was coming up, was a misunderstanding of the concept, the purpose, the reason why God implements revelation. So to kind of get into this, I'll go off on Uzi's points that he makes in his video. That was a response to, well, it's just an ongoing dialogue. But he got into talking about how we, to preface this, I had gone off on pointing out how central revelation was to our faith, and since he is a former member, he understands that, but he was going off on his view of how it would lead to not having a need for Scripture, that revelation would misplaced Scripture was his contention against revelation, ultimately, or against the idea of having revelation in Scripture. But and then the other end, the one I was in correspondence with, that put the video entitled "Tough Questions for Mormons," he was talking about we got to talking about the Book of Mormon and all the changes that he would bring up. He'd bring up the whole point of having over 3,000 documented changes in the Book of Mormon, and how it should have been perfect from the translation that Joseph Smith did. Now, both of these, as I've stated at the beginning, stem from understandings of the full purpose and context and reasoning behind God giving us revelation. Certainly, revelation is used to place things in our minds, or through direct visions, things very explicit, to transmit clear communications between us and God as to either what we need to do, what's in the future, things of that nature. There are certainly explicit and direct and just clear as midday revelations that come from God. But I think it's very, very bad to oversimplify it and think that all revelation falls into that, or that revelation's mere purpose is to just communicate bits of information or bits of instruction. Revelation goes beyond that to the point of actually refining our capacities, enhancing our capacities, and granting us new capacities, new abilities. And so, just as one would learn new things from a teacher, revelation is a means of conveying new capacities to us. Now, I think it's fundamental in all of this to understand why God sent us here. He didn't send us here just so that we would be some created being that would have things kind of downloaded into us like a computer from the factory. You just have certain things that you load onto it and it just runs the way it's supposed to, or that you have it set up so that it messes up and then you later have a download that fixes it. We are independent beings, and we have choices, and our will and our choices in relation to things determine a lot of our development. And so I'm going to show how this kind of ties back into revelation and why God has it. When we as we seek truth, we can become more and more capable, and there can be more and more avenues for us gaining truth. And by increasing our capacity to discern truth on our own, and our capacity to have access to various modes of revelation from God, and other forms. In the recent conference that our church had, one of the apostles spoke on truth and on the two forms that we have for obtaining it. And these were essentially the scientific method and revelation. And they both have ways of enabling us to gain knowledge and gain capacities that we wouldn't have otherwise. But he points out in his talk that there are limits to the scientific method, but there are reasons why we have it. There are reasons why God, as some people will say, there's reasons He gave us a brain, but there's also reasons why He has different means and degrees of revelation. If you look at when you're designing something, whether it's a bridge or a receiver or any kind of device of technology, there's an advancement as it goes from being some crude application of a principle to being refined and perfected, so that you can get things like the receivers we have here on Earth, able to receive signals that are the equivalent to a cell phone signal on one of the moons of, I don't know if it was Saturn or Jupiter, but so it's this line upon line and precept on precept, and a lot of times people mistake that and they think it's just kind of a build, line upon line. And the line upon line, precept on precept, is a reference to more and more accurate and definitive discernment and measurement. So when you have a ruler or a caliper or something, that the more accurately you can measure things, the better overall concept you can gain of reality. And so with that, that's kind of one of my points with Revelation, is God has many ways in which He communicates with us and in which He teaches us. And a really good example of this is Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon in translation. God wasn't merely trying to transmit a book. If He was merely trying to transmit a book, it wouldn't make a lot of sense for Him to go through all of this process of going through some fallible human if all He was doing was trying to transmit a book. God can do anything, so He could just do what He did with Moses and the tablets. He could just write the book with His fingers, hand it off to a prophet. But there were reasons beyond merely transmitting the book that God had for giving the book to Joseph Smith and having the translation process. Things he learned, capacities he's obtained, abilities to discern his surrounding and to receive other kinds of revelation and be more attuned, be able to do more with less, efficiency and efficacy and all that Joseph Smith would do, so that God wasn't merely delivering a book, but He was delivering a prophet and a seer and a capable leader and director. So I think it's important that we not see that revelation is just merely something, so that there can still be a reason for having Scripture. And in fact, one of the best points, I think, brought out by a friend to me, there's a point made by Hugh Nibley in one of his books, where he says that if you want to know what a heavenly messenger would tell you, you should read the Scriptures, because a common habit that we find in the Scriptures of heavenly beings is that they end up reciting previous Scripture, and so that they all tie together. Revelation doesn't make Scriptures or Revelation don't make either one irrelevant or unneeded. I think it's important, especially for anyone claiming a tie to Christianity, that they not forget that as it states in the book of Revelations, that the spirit of prophecy is a testimony of Jesus, and that we don't deny the testimony of Jesus. You don't deny prophecy, you don't deny revelation, whether it's written or whether it is personal revelation, actual present day revelation. So, thanks.